Vishnu. Shri Vishnu. Shri Vishnu.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya tadatmanam shrijamyaham. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Kayena vacha manasendriyeva Puryatmana va prakrite svabhava Karomi aryat sakalam parasmai Narayanaeti samarpayami
Kayena vacha manasendriyeva Puryatmana va prakrite svabhava Karomi adyat sakalam parasmai Narayana samarpayami. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Tabakara Kamala Varenakam Advuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagarisha Hare Jaya Jagarisha Hare Jaya Jagarisha Hare
Tabakara Kamala Varenakam Advuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagarisha Hare Jaya Jagarisha Hare Jaya Jagarisha Hare.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vansha Jayate.
Surya Vansha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Om Hari Om. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. Wonderful. Namaste, everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure, my humble honor to be here with all of you today. We have our congregation here in Omaha, Nebraska at our beautiful ISDS temple and headquarters. And in addition to our people who are here in the audience, we of course have our international audience of many, many people in many, many different nations. So again, I welcome you all. What we're going to be doing today is a continuation of what we have been doing, and that is commenting very specifically on quite a few verses, 21 verses I believe in total, of an entire passage, sequential passage from the Devi Bhagavata Purana. And I'm going to try to not repeat what I've said in the past as far as an introduction to this very important work. It is one of the Puranas, it's recognized as one of the Puranas. And as I've said in the past, there's no such thing as a Vaishnava Purana, a Shaiva Purana, a Shakta Purana. This is nonsense. That it's amazing how so many, even very religious, so-called religious Hindus take seriously. Now understanding that this is a fake division that is very recent, that started in academia actually, more than anything, no more than 200 years ago. Rather, all the Puranas are the Puranas of Sanatana Dharma. There's no conflict, there's no contradiction, there's no sectarianism. It's not one Purana says one thing, another Purana contradicts it. That is something, this idea is something that again is very recent, you know, no more than 200 years, roughly, something like that. Rather, all the Puranas speak with one voice. Do the Puranas contradict the Upanishads? No. Do the Upanishads contradict the Itihasas, Mahabharata, Ramayana? No. Do the Itihasas contradict the Veda Sanhitas, the four Vedas? No. Do the four Vedas contradict? And you see where I'm going. There is no contradiction. Now, how to prove this? Well, there's an easy way to prove this. Read them all. I have. Over the course of 50 years. I've read quite literally every Vedic scripture, including some scriptures that even some scholars have never heard of in their life. And having read them all, I personally have seen zero contradiction. They're not always an easy read, because a book is not an easy read, you can't therefore just speculate and make things up about it. Something might be difficult to understand. But that doesn't mean that there are contradictions that are there. It means you didn't understand it. So in the same way, Devi Bhagavata Purana is not a Shakta Purana versus this versus that. It is a Purana that we, as Vaishnavas, not in the sectarian sense, but meaning that indeed we want to know the highest and have devotion toward that highest, we accept the Devi Bhagavata Purana. That's why I've been commenting on it for 3 weeks now, and we're going to continue indefinitely for quite a few weeks more to go. So all that being said, now we're going to look at, again, some more verses. If you want to follow along, those who are in the audience especially, that is in the online audience, please feel free to look at the description of this video here on YouTube, and you'll see the verses that we're going to cover today. They're different from the previous verses, but we are continuing on a theme. The last live stream, and then this live stream as well, we are speaking very specifically about Sri Lakshmi Devi. We began last week, now we're going to continue. So, as we dive into this, let me first read these multiple verses to people, and then I'll be quickly commenting on them. And these verses proceed in this way. Good, give me one moment. Alright. This Devi, residing in all the grains, this Devi is residing in all the grains and vegetables. And so she is the source of life of all the beings. She is residing in Vaikuntha as Mahalakshmi, chaste and always in the service of her Lord. She is the heavenly Lakshmi, residing in the heavens, and the royal Lakshmi in palaces, and the Griya Lakshmi in the many families of the multitude of householders. O Narada, all the lovely beauty that you see in all the living beings and in all things, it is she. She is the glory and fame of those who have done good and pious works. It is she that is the prowess of the powerful kings. She is the trade of the merchants, the mercy of the saints, engaged in doing good to others, and the seed of dissensions in those sinful and vicious persons, as approved of in the Vedas. She is worshipped by all, reverenced by all. Wonderful, and it ends there. So again, this is from the Devi Bhagavata Purana. And let us comment upon this. First of all, again, we are speaking about very specifically Lakshmi Devi. And again, not to repeat this, but it does bear repeating. It's actually something very important to understand. That when we are speaking of Lakshmi Devi, very specifically, who are we speaking of? So, yes, Shriman, exactly. So when it comes to Lakshmi Devi, and this is true for quite a few of the goddesses actually, but this is especially true of Lakshmi Devi because she is the source of all goddesses. She is the source of all things. So thus, every other goddess, when you see similarities, they are in actuality duplicating these facts about her. When we talk about Sri Lakshmi Devi very specifically, we cannot speak about Sri Lakshmi Devi in only one aspect. Now, can we talk about her in her higher aspect, her highest aspect, and then understand her from that highest aspect on down? Yes. But we have to understand that when we speak about Sri Lakshmi Devi, oh, there are so many aspects of her that it is amazing. And indeed, these verses here are covering several of these aspects. Again, I've said this before. If you want to know very in depth about what is the nature of Sri Lakshmi Devi, read this book, The Shakti Principle, because I go into dozens and dozens of qualities, aspects, etc. of Sri Lakshmi Devi. But here also we see several that are here. We see Sri Lakshmi Devi in her highest form, so therefore Mahalakshmi, the great Lakshmi, as is seen in Vaikuntha, but then we see different other aspects of her. So we're going to cover this. This begins with one of the aspects of Lakshmi Devi. Now again, what is, let's say, the primary essential attribute of Lakshmi Devi? She is the goddess of, no, not just wealth. It's very unfortunate that, again, people will often say, oh, Lakshmi is goddess of wealth. And while that's not untrue, that's not her primary essential attribute. It's an attribute, but not an essential, the essential attribute. And it makes it sound like, oh, she's merely the god of business people. No, she's infinitely more than this. This is another aspect. She is the goddess very specifically of abundance, of growth, of, yes, prosperity, but in every sense of that term. And does this mean money? Oh, sure. Does it mean actual wealth? Yes, it does. But interestingly, even more so than this, it has always been recognized that one of the primary aspects of Lakshmi Devi is that she is also the driving force, the power behind the growth in nature. And this also, interestingly, is considered to be a wealth. Wealth in the true sense of that term. Again, not just money. You know, people hear wealth and they just think literally, you know, dollar bills or something like that, or gold coins. No. Abundance is seen in nature. When we grow grains, when we grow fruits, vegetables, nuts, all of these things naturally. This is also considered to be a type of wealth. Indeed, actually, interestingly, it's the primary wealth. Paper money, gold coins, that's secondary, actually. Traditionally, in traditional societies, that means all the Vedic society, that means many of the other ancient societies, you were considered to be a prosperous nation if you were a nation of farmers, and you had abundant land, and as a result, indeed, you had, what's that word? Abundance. Abundance of food. That was considered to be wealth in the past. And it was true. It is as true today as it is back then. That if you want to know whether a nation is truly prosperous, see how much of their own food they grow. If they grow very little, it's not a prosperous nation. It doesn't matter if they have skyscrapers. If, on the other hand, they grow a lot of actual food, then it's a prosperous nation. Well, it is Sri Lakshmi Devi who is that force behind abundance. So that's what this says. This Devi, that is Lakshmi Devi, is residing in all the grains and vegetables. So indeed, it is she who is responsible for abundance in nature. And so she is the source of life of all the beings. So very interesting. I mean, this follows. What is the source of life for living beings? Well, we have to eat. And we have to eat from nature. So that being the case, Sri Lakshmi Devi is indeed the source of all life, of all living beings.
Sound problem just showed up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Good again? Very good. For how long was the sound not working, you think?
No, it's working.
Oh, it was, but just not very good.
It just started echoing randomly.
Oh, okay, all right. So at least people could at least hear what was being said. All right, very good. Very good. So that being the case, let's go on. We will go to the next section. She, that is Lakshmi Devi, Sri Lakshmi Devi, she is residing in Vaikuntha. We'll stop right there for now. So indeed, what is Vaikuntha? Vaikuntha is the supreme realm in all of reality, both material and spiritual. It is quite literally the kingdom of God. You know, when colloquially people hear this term, they say this term, oh, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of God. And people will have different ideas. Sometimes they'll have ideas from a more Christian perspective or other perspectives. Well, this is what is actually meant by the actual kingdom of God. Vaikuntha, this very beautiful word, Vaikuntha, in the Sanskrit language. And what is meant by the kingdom of God? It means quite literally where God in his ultimate highest self is, and from whence all things proceed, and beyond which there is nothing higher. That is what's meant by Vaikuntha, literally the kingdom of God. In other words, when people think about this, people will kind of think about this in again, just a very, very nice, normal sort of way. Oh, if I were to go to God himself in the highest and meet God. Oh, that's what's meant by the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha. So she is residing in Vaikuntha, but not just residing there, because many beings are residing there. Actually, an infinite number of beings reside there as servants of Narayana, as servants of God. But it says she is residing there as, and it's interesting, this is the Sanskrita, not just Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi, the great Lakshmi. So again, the highest aspect of Lakshmi, the highest aspect. So again, who in actuality is Lakshmi in this highest of all aspects? This is Shriman. This is God. This is Lakshmi Devi, the goddess, as co-absolute, co-eternal with God. This is who we're talking about here. So this is her highest aspect. But now it goes on, talking about some of the qualities of Sri Lakshmi Devi. She is chaste. What does that mean, chaste? Oh, we have the common, even let's say 19th century European idea of what it means to be chaste. This goes beyond that. What this means is that like a good wife toward a husband, like a good husband toward a wife, etc. What this is saying about Sri Lakshmi Devi very specifically is that in her eyes, there is no one else but her Lord. There is no one else in existence but for Narayana. So in this way, she is chaste and always in the service of her husband, always in the service of her Lord, of her consort, Lord Narayana. So again, this is the idea, and it's a continuation of the previous clause, that in actuality, they are in a way non-distinct. They are and they are not. Here we have the actual, let's say, most important meaning of this peripheral philosophical term, achintya bheda abheda. Really, bheda abheda tattva. This is where this term comes in. That is so famous in Gaudiya Vaishnava circles. But in actuality, in previous Vaishnavism, in truly orthodox Vaishnavism, this is a sub-philosophical principle. But it's an important one nonetheless. And what is this achintya bheda abheda tattva? That inconceivably, and speaking in this context, inconceivably, Lakshmi and Narayana, Shriman and Narayana, are one yet distinct. One yet distinct. So indeed, this is where we find this philosophical terminology coming to its ultimate perfection. Because this is where it begins, this idea of oneness yet distinctness. And again, I've spoken about this not very much, and truly in usually very, very high philosophical circles I've spoken about this. And this is not a criticism, this is reality, this is Vedic philosophy with a capital P. The concept of Bheda Abheda is not a philosophical system. Again, in accordance with Baladeva Vidyabhushana, in accordance with many Gaudiya Vaishnavas today, they consider this secondary, tertiary concept of Bheda Abheda to be the be-all and end-all of their philosophical construct. I pointed out to actually Gaudiya Vaishnavas who were actual philosophers, people with PhDs, and there are several of them, that in actuality this is a sub-principle. And that is that it's describing only one thing, and that is union and difference in relationship. It is not really of the nature of the highest categories of divine ontology. Rather, for that is called Vishishta Advaita. But rather, what Bheda Abheda, or if you want to use the full term, Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, what that is describing is a sub-principle, and that is God in relationship to other. God in relationship to other. This being the case, it's a sub-principle of metaphysics. This is precisely what this is. So it would be kind of like saying, oh, you take a sub-principle of any aspect of philosophy. Oh, what is the nature of ethics? And you take that sub-principle, sub-school of philosophy, and you say, that is our philosophical system. No, it's not. No, it's one aspect. In the same way, this idea of Bheda Abheda, of oneness yet distinction, is an important one, but it's not the highest philosophy in Vaishnavism or in Vedic philosophy. It's a sub-principle. And when you look at actual Vedic philosophy, the highest form of Vedic philosophy, as I've said again and again and again, and all the Vedas agree, and any good philosopher, Vedic philosopher, agrees, the highest principle is divine ontology, i.e., what is the actual nature of God, and specifically, both in our relation to Him, but more importantly, God's relationship to God. In other words, how God views God. There's nothing higher. There's nothing higher. But now, getting back to what we're actually saying here. So indeed, this is the idea, is that when we look at Shriman, and when we look at Narayan, and when we look at what? Shakti-Shaktiman, they are indeed really a unitary being, while at the same time you see distinction between them. In fact, let me say, interestingly, we had a puja just a short time ago, and you see that we have our murtis of Sriman Narayana. For the Uttama Adhikari, there's another term that Gaudiyas will be very, very familiar with. They don't own it. It's from the Srimad Bhagavatam and many other places in the Vedic scriptures. For the Uttama Adhikari, that is the Vaishnava who is seeing with purely clear vision, when they look upon Sriman Narayana, they see precisely this. They see them as one. They see that they are co-absolute, and at the same time, they have the ability to relate to them also independently. And more, it can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They see as one term, Sriman Narayana, but they also see Lakshmi, and they also see Narayana. This is the vision of the truly pure devotee. Now, let's go on. Now, here is where it gets especially interesting, because now we're dealing with various aspects of Lakshmi Devi. And starting from the highest and going down. We just discussed the highest. And this is obvious if you see the sequence that we're about to see. So first there is Mahalakshmi, Lakshmi as she is in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual realm. But now we go on. She is the heavenly Lakshmi. Let's stop there for a second. Now, let me ask my students here, what is meant in this context by, and let me just say, heaven? And in fact, let me make it even easier. Heaven versus Vaikuntha. What is, in a nutshell, the difference?
One is within materiality.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So in, of course, the Western world, when people hear the term heaven, they, think of, the kingdom of God. This is not what is meant by the term heaven in this context. Rather, what is meant is svarga, the heavenly realm within the material world. And this is something that Vedic people understand, that others have a very difficult time understanding. The heavens within the material world are where the gods reside, and they're temporary. They will come to an end, just as the material universe will come to an end. Vaikuntha, on the other hand, the kingdom of God, is eternal. It is spiritual. It transcends all materiality. So, now this is what this is speaking about. She is the heavenly Lakshmi residing in the heavens. This is a lower aspect of Lakshmi Devi, in which indeed she is amongst the gods. And the gods, again, being beings who we revere, we offer our obeisances to them, we worship them, but we also understand that they are also temporary. They live for much longer than human beings, but they're temporary. Eventually they pass away. They can live for, in some cases, many cases, millions of years. In some cases, more than that. But this is within the material world. So now what this is saying is that Lakshmi Devi also resides in the heavens among the gods and goddesses. So this is the heavenly Lakshmi. Now we go a step down. And the royal Lakshmi in palaces. Now you remember the last time we spoke about this, and that is Lakshmi Devi as the source of regality, of majesty, how she is connected to the kings, to queens, etc., to royalty. This is beginning at least to point to this now, that, okay, a step down, she is the royal Lakshmi in palaces. Now what is meant by this? This means that when you have a true palace, when you have a true king, and we covered this last time, not just some Joe Schmo who he just happened to have the dumb luck of being born in some royal family. No. We're talking about a real king who, from the second he's born until the moment he leaves this planet, he lives with nothing but virtue and honor and wisdom. This is what we're talking about. When it comes to such kings and such queens, Lakshmi is there present where they are. If you go to the royal palace of such a king and queen, you feel Lakshmi's influence there. You feel her presence. You walk in to such a palace, and the first thing you feel is auspiciousness. What does that mean? This means you walk in and immediately you don't feel it tactily. You feel it within. Inside you, as soon as you walk into such a royal palace of a true king, a true queen, you feel this power of auspiciousness. You feel that the abundance, the power of this place stretches to infinity. That's what you feel deep within you. It's because Lakshmi Devi is present there. Now let's go on. And the Gurya Lakshmi in the many families of the multitude of households. This is yet again another step down. So we see how the personality and the power, the Shakti of Lakshmi Devi, it's like a cascading waterfall. And in that way, now we're talking about a lower aspect of Lakshmi than you find even in palaces. And what is meant by this? Well, traditionally, there is the Lakshmi of the household as well. You know, this is something that at one time, let's say pre-Abrahamic, in Europe, you could say pre-Christian, this is something that was universal, and that is that you had families. The family was always considered, was always understood to be the building block, the foundation of any society, any real society that worked. And no, not of course in the modern sense. What was that stupid TV show? Was it called Modern Family or something like that? No, not in the modern sense. Family is whatever you decide it will be. No. That's modernist garbage. That's something that's only existed for several decades. Previous to that, people were sane and intelligent, and things functioned much better. The building block of society is a real family. And more, every family had a home altar. This was true throughout the Roman Empire. This was true among the Nordics. This was true among the Celtic people. This was true among the ancient Slavs. This was true in ancient Persia. This was certainly true throughout the sphere of influence of the entire Vedic world. Oh, let's say, again, we're talking about roughly 2,000, 2,500 years ago. So basically stretching from what today is considered to be Turkey all the way to the Philippines and every single thing in between. Every family had a home altar. Indeed, you weren't considered civilized if you didn't. And more, it was Lakshmi Devi who was also considered to be a welcomed guest in the home. So thus, they would either have an actual murti, an image of Lakshmi Devi, and in her many forms, and even if they didn't per se, they would invoke her. The family would go before the altar, they would say mantras, and they would invoke the blessings of Lakshmi Devi. So all this being the case, this is what is meant by this, that she is the Griha Lakshmi. What is meant by that word, Griha? Anyone? The household, yes. Household. She is also the household Lakshmi. And indeed, what family would not want the blessings of Lakshmi Devi in their household? Of course they would. Because again, what does this mean? What is the essential attribute of Lakshmi Devi? It's growth, it's abundance. It's growth, it's abundance. This is a very esoteric question. What is one of the translations of Brahman? What does it actually mean? I said it's an esoteric question. I have spoken about this. Brahman also means growth, that which is ever growing. So how interesting is it that indeed, again, this is Brahman, Sriman Narayana, for whom with Lakshmi Devi, this is precisely what she is personified, is actual growth. So truly amazing, truly astounding. Now let's go on a little bit more with this. Oh Narada, all the lovely beauty that you have seen in all the living beings and all the things, it is she. So easy to understand. Indeed, Sri Lakshmi Devi, the truly great goddess, she is the source of all beauty. All beauty. What human being is there who does not appreciate beauty? What human being is there who doesn't understand the power of beauty? Indeed, it's one of the things that is one of the prime motivators for why human beings even do things. We're seeking beauty, either directly or indirectly. That's how powerful, that's important, how important this is. And what we are to understand, what is being said here, is that any beauty that we see around us in living beings and in all things, she is the source. She is the source. She is the source. So as we've said many, many times, God is the source of all beauty. It's not merely that God is beautiful. Is God beautiful? Sure. Sure. That's like saying sun is bright. Yeah, sun is bright, but is sun just bright? No, sun is the source of light. In the same way, God is the source of all beauty. Very good. So with that, let's go on. She is the glory and fame of those who have done good and pious works. Very nice. So indeed, when there are individuals who are spiritual, individuals who are religious, what happens with such individuals? Again, in a sane society. Not today. Today, of course, what we have for however long, it's debatable. Some people say since the 60s, since the beginning of modernity. What do we have now? Reality turned upside down. Reality turned upside down. Now, if you have spiritual people, religious people, etc., they're almost persecuted. They're almost seen as country bumpkins or something. They're laughed at. No, we're talking about a real society, a sane society. In a sane society, if a person is truly spiritual and they do good, they have done good work, they are praised, they are given fame. Well, it is that fame itself that is a gift of Lakshmi Devi. Very good. Let's go on. And it is she that is the prowess of the powerful kings. Very good. I'm glad we reached to this. Now we're going to talk about this just a little bit in depth. We're not going to go too far. You'll remember that again, the last time we were together, we spoke about Sri Lakshmi Devi as the source of the regality and majesty of royalty. And again, we spoke about this a little bit today as well. But this is something that is indeed a crucial principle to understand. When we encounter royalty, and I'm talking about real royalty, interestingly, even imitational royalty in many cases, what do we see? When we think of palaces, when we examine, when we study palaces from the past, royal courts, etc., even up to semi-modern times, let's say the palace of King Louis XIV, Versailles, something like that, what do we see? We see Lakshmi Devi. We see the power of Lakshmi Devi. We see, as I keep saying, regality. We see majesty. We see beauty. What else do we see? Gold. And either real gold or at least the color gold. Why? Why is gold something that in itself has always been considered to be so important? And not just in a greedy way, not just, oh, I want gold, I want gold. No, why is it that throughout human history, the idea of gold has been something that has been very reverenced? Why is it that, indeed, palaces will often have a lot of gold in them? It's because this represents in symbolic form the power of Lakshmi Devi. So, interestingly, when you see a lot of palaces, especially in the past, you would see that they would have gold everywhere. And again, either real or even just painted gold, but at least symbolically it has to be there. So indeed, when we see royal palaces, what we see is that the influence of Lakshmi is there and more. Not just in the surroundings, not just in the architecture, not even just in the landscape architecture, because such palaces often had beautiful, beautiful gardens as well. Again, Versailles, for people who haven't looked at the history of Versailles, look at that, and in semi-modern times, not quite modern, but right on the cusp, what you see with Versailles is what a royal palace should be. And what is that? Abundance, abundance, abundance. How did we begin this? Talking about what aspect of Lakshmi Devi? Abundance, but where?
Nature.
In nature. Yeah, in nature. So it's an amazing thing that even despite themselves, even in an unbeknownst sort of way, and even in semi-modern times, when you have a palace, what will it have? Gardens. So nature abundance. And again, everything else that I spoke about as far as art and architecture and just beauty everywhere. All aspects of Lakshmi Devi. So this is why, if you want to see this aspect, this power of Lakshmi in concentrated form, look at true royalty. And what they are exhibiting is the power of Lakshmi Devi in concentrated form for the world to see. In a way, in this way, they are kind of a via medium. Royalty are kind of a conduit between the power of Lakshmi and the common people to be able to experience that. So it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. So she is the prowess of the powerful kings. Let's talk about that for a moment. She's also the strength of kings, interestingly. How is this the case? She serves as the Shakti even of kings. Let's talk about what a true king is just for a moment. Let's talk about this from a Vedic perspective. The true king is the representative of God on earth. Now, for people who have studied the history of royalty even a little bit, we know that that's the case. If we studied the history of royalty just a little bit, we understand that, we've seen that many, many times. We understand that a king is meant to be someone who is extremely powerful, but more, it is Lakshmi Devi who is that Shakti, who is that power itself, and who gives that king the ability to have power. Now let's go on. And now we're going to go somewhat quick because the rest of this doesn't need a lot of commentary, just a little bit. She is the trade of merchants, indeed. So now we're talking about a very low aspect of Lakshmi Devi. Again, this is the Kali Yuga, everything's turned upside down. So now when the common Hindu thinks about Lakshmi Devi, oh, she's the goddess of merchants. She's the goddess where, oh, you want money, you pray to her and she'll throw money upon your head. That's the lowest aspect of Lakshmi Devi. But it is an aspect. It is an aspect. But it's not a very important one. But indeed, it is an aspect. So thus, she is the trade of merchants. So indeed, if an individual is a pious merchant, that is not just a greedy person, but a person who they're a true entrepreneur. They love business. They love to work on business. They love to create wealth, etc. Not just for its own sake, but so that they can then use it for good. For such an individual, Lakshmi blesses them with abundance. Now let's go on. She is the mercy of saints. She is the mercy of the sages. So how beautiful. What a beautiful thing to say. So when we encounter true sages, again, not some YouTube nobody trying to sell you his latest merch and droning on with new age little platitudes that he made up, etc. No, 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 no. We're talking about a true sage, someone who is selfless, someone whose very existence is devoted to God. What does it mean to be such a person? Among many other things, it means that such a person is merciful. It means that they have compassion, and real compassion, not just droning on compassion, compassion, but they really don't care about anyone. No, the sage actually cares about others, helping others, more than anyone does. So there is the mercy of the sages. Lakshmi Devi is the source of that mercy. She is that Shakti of mercy. Let's go on. Oh, and this is a little qualifier to explain more what these sages are like. Engaged in doing good to others. Indeed, this is what the sage is. They are engaged always in doing good to others 24 hours a day. Whenever there is a problem and they can help, they help. If someone approaches them with whatever the situation is, they want spiritual advice. Oh, they're going through something challenging in their own life. Anything like this, the sage is there to help them, to help them, to help them. They're always doing good. But now let's go on. This part is very interesting here and a little difficult to understand because the translation is not perfect, but I looked at the Sanskrit. So let me explain this last clause of this sentence. And the seed of dissensions in those vicious persons, comma, as approved of in the Vedas. Now, a person would read this quickly and think, oh, okay, she's the seed of what makes people sinful. No, it's saying actually the opposite. She is the seed of dissensions in those sinful and vicious persons. So let me explain what is meant by this. She is conscience. So in other words, when you have a sinful, deceitful, vicious sort of individual, someone who's a bad person, evil person, even among such people, there will be, and this is actually the descriptive is very nice, there will be seeds of dissension within them. In other words, even as they're doing their evil, within them there'll be that little seed that's dissenting and saying, no, why are you doing this? No, don't do this. Stop doing this. Do good. Why are you harming people? Why are you hurting this person? Why are you stealing? There's that voice of conscience that's there. That's Lakshmi Devi. That's Lakshmi Devi. Whenever there is an evil person, and that does not apply to anyone here in our temple, it does not apply to 99%, 98% of those watching online. It applies to a few of you. I know who you are. It applies to a few of you. But for the vast majority of us, this doesn't apply because we're not evil people. But, anyone can make a mistake. Anyone can kind of, when they're very young, for example, choose to do something that they really know they shouldn't do. You're a child and maybe you kind of steal some little thing, some candy or something from a store. Everyone does a little something like that at some point in their life. Well, what's interesting is if you're truly a good person just mistakenly doing a bad thing, you'll have conscience. You will have that seeming little voice inside you saying, oh, no, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? Why did I steal that little piece of candy? Why did I do this? Why did I lie to my parents? Why? Etc. That's Lakshmi Devi. That is there within. Within, as the consort of Paramatman. See, who is within our heart? It's Paramatman. And wherever Vishnu is, Lakshmi too is present. So interestingly, this is why within our heart there is Paramatman, what we often envision, and that is Vishnu as Paramatman within the heart. Is Lakshmi there too? Is Lakshmi Devi there too? They're inseparable. So Lakshmi Devi also is there within the heart. And that's where the voice of conscience is. She is that voice of conscience. Very nice. As approved of in the Vedas. So indeed, this is as it should be. Let's go on. She is worshipped by all. Oh, interesting. This is something alone that we actually could go very deeply into, because this opens up an entire can of gulab that people can easily misunderstand. They can see this as a type of radical universalism. Oh, well, what does that mean? Oh, well, she's worshipped by all. Then, oh, does that mean? And of course, they'll try to justify their own stupidity and evil-mindedness. Oh, well, she's worshipped by all. Does that mean I can just do whatever I want and I'm still worshipping? Oh, yeah. No. Back up a little bit. That's not what is being said here. What is being said is this. Is God present everywhere? Is God omnipresent? Is God within every single atom? And what, just speaking materially, what is not comprised of atoms? Oh, everything around us, our bodies, the bodies of good people and the bodies of evil people comprised of atoms. God is within every single atom. So is God everywhere? Where evil is being done, where good is being done, where it's dark, where it's light, etc. So of course. As the inner witness, God is there, present within all things. Again, is Lakshmi Devi ever truly separated from Narayana? No. She also is present within all things. That being the case, directly and indirectly, Lakshmi Devi, in fact, let me state this purely accurately, Sriman Narayana is being worshipped at all times by all beings, knowingly or unknowingly. And this is indeed the stupidity of the atheist and the evil person, is that they may even try to run away from God as much as they want, and they'll worship other things, materialistic things instead. The atheist, the evil person, oh, I don't care about God, I want money. God is present within the money. Indeed, the power, the very power of wealth itself is Lakshmi Devi, in worshipping even money indirectly, in their stupidity. Even if not consciously, they are worshipping Sriman Narayana. And of course, I can give hundreds of examples. What do evil people, atheists, what do they worship? They worship like crazy, but they worship material things. You see, there's no one who doesn't worship. When you have an atheist, let's say an atheist guy lusting after a woman who he's watching in pornography, he's worshiping. And he's thinking, oh, I don't need God. Oh, I have my pornography. Oh, he's worshiping. God is present everywhere. God is there as the witness. And on. The person taking his 5th, 10th shot of vodka in a bar. And, oh, I'm an atheist. I don't need God. I don't need God. God is present there. He's still worshiping. We all worship. Doesn't matter who we are. We all worship. And in this way, she is worshipped by all. Let's go on. Reverenced by all. Pretty much saying the same thing, except in this case, a little bit more calculated. She is reverenced by all, meaning, again, even the atheist wants money. So even the atheist has reverence for Sri Lakshmi Devi, even if indirectly. What to speak of then those who directly have reverence for Sri Lakshmi Devi. And we end here. This was a very nice section, a continuation of what we were doing last week, where we began speaking about very specifically this specific goddess, this specific Shakti of Narayana. And as I mentioned, now after this, the verses go on to then speak about Saraswati. And when we get together next week and we begin to speak about Saraswati very specifically, I am going to preface my commenting on the verses by talking a little bit about the nature of Saraswati that, again, most people don't know. Who is it who do know this? People who have read the scriptures. But most people who think they know who Saraswati is, actually, are going to hear aspects of Saraswati that they maybe have not encountered before. Again, unless they've read the Vedic scriptures or unless they've read my book, The Shakti Principle. Because there are crucial aspects of Saraswati that almost everyone misses today. You know, and I don't mean to preface next week's preface with a preface today, but I will just for a second, just as kind of a bridge to next week. When we think of Saraswati, what do most people think of? Who is Saraswati? What is she, quote unquote, the goddess of? Knowledge, wisdom. She's also the goddess of the arts, of music, of beauty. She is also, most importantly, as far as what she represents, the goddess of a true civilization. And that's something I'll be talking about very in depth in, again, next week. This is what we tend to think about when we think of Saraswati. Now, are these incorrect? No, they're correct. Is it the highest aspect of who she is, however? No. Here's a clue for people who have maybe watched the live streams for the last 5 years straight. For people who have been watching our videos on YouTube for whatever it's been, 17 years straight. For people who have been attending my teachings in person for decades. Let me say something very important that you need to keep in mind if you want to understand Sanatana Dharma. It's not the most important thing, but it's important. And it's something that no one else has stated. When you look at any god or goddess, you can look at their attributes, or you can look at who they are. Most people today, meaning for generations now, when they look at a god or a goddess, they tend to focus on the attributes. Again, that's why, who is Lakshmi Devi? Oh, goddess of money. Who is Saraswati? Oh, I want to do well on an exam, I'll pray to Saraswati. You're looking at the attributes. What are attributes? They're secondary features. See, I have attributes right now. Oh, you know, I have dark colored hair. I have brown eyes. I'm wearing a, what color is this? Green or brown? What? Green, thank you. People always correct me on that. To me, it's green. I'm wearing a green kurta. These are attributes. They're not the essence of who I am. I could have had blue eyes. I would still be me. I could be wearing a white kurta. I would still be me. See the difference between attributes versus essential nature. My essential nature is something no one can touch. My attributes they can see. In the same way, when we think of gods and goddesses, for that matter, when we even think of God, the highest, most people, the vast majority, will focus on the attributes, i.e., how that being relates to me. What about that being in and of themselves? You see? There's a distinction that's there. And if we are to truly understand that being, whether it's a god or a goddess or God, we are to understand who that being is when they think of themselves. How's that? See, it's one thing to say, this is why, again, I use this as an example all the time. Oh, God is great. God is great. Well, is that true? Yes, it's true. But that's just an attribute of God. It's how we relate to God, how God is of importance to us. Imagine this. How does God see himself? There's how we see God. Oh, yes, oh God, give me your blessings, give me this, give me that. That's how we relate to God. How does God relate to himself? In the same way that others can relate to us and they just see what they see. But how we relate to ourselves, that's how you know our essence. That's how I know my essence. Imagine understanding how God relates to himself, how God relates to his very own essence. When you understand that, then you can understand any other being, actually, from God the highest, to gods and goddesses, to great acharyas, rishis, gurus, etc., down to the very person you're married to. It's one thing to understand them, as they relate to us, what they give me. Even if it's nice things, they make me happy. That's nice. But is that the essence of who they are? If you truly care about someone and you love someone, whether it's someone who is a relative all the way up to God, you wish to understand them on their own terms. In other words, then you truly understand them. So this is how we're going to understand Saraswati when we get together next time. Very good. So with that, very nice. For maybe a very short time, and I mean maybe 10 minutes at the most, let's take some questions from the audience. That means both individuals who are here, that means anyone who's online and you want to ask a question in the chat. Please feel free to ask your questions now. And again, questions related very specifically to Sanatana Dharma. If you think I'm a professor, you've made a very big mistake. I'm actually as educated as any professor. Quite literally, I have a PhD from University of Wisconsin-Madison. Don't ask me professorial questions. Ask me questions that will save your life. Those are the questions especially that I would like to hear. Interesting. This is a very interesting question, and I have heard this actually. This is not something I haven't heard, but I'll definitely answer this. It's Namaste Shri Acharyaji. There is an ancient proverb that says that those loved by the gods die young. Is it true? No, it's not true. It's not true. Throughout history, what we've seen is that when it comes to sages, a few have died young. Gyaneshwara was one individual who lived, I believe, in the 12th or 13th century. He died when he was maybe 22, and before he died, he wrote a beautiful, famous commentary on Bhagavad Gita. There are others. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world when he was approximately 48 years old. So there are some. Shankaracharya left when he was approximately 33. But then you have sages who live so long, it's amazing. So you have Ramanuja Acharya, who lived to be 120. And if anything, it tends to be the case that if you have a sage, they tend to live longer than most and not shorter. So on the one hand, no, historically that simply is inaccurate. It tends to be the opposite. Sages tend to live very good lifestyles. If they are indeed close to the gods, well, what does that mean? By default, logically, what does that mean? If they are close to the gods, if they are friends of the gods, it means that they are close to, in proximity with, those beings who are all auspicious and who exude from them nothing but auspiciousness, health, strength, vitality, etc. So if anything, how is this stated? Loved by the gods. If someone is loved by the gods, if anything, by, again, that proximity, they will be so affected by those good attributes of the gods. So thus, if anything, they'll live longer. So let me end by saying this. Ancient. For me, the last 5,000 years is modern. So when a person says ancient, that means something different to me. That means previous yuga. Just because something is quote-unquote ancient, meaning, it's been around for 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 years, just because it's ancient doesn't mean it's true. Very good. This is a very nice question. I don't know if I have ever addressed this, publicly. All of my students, my serious students, know this is the case, to the point where it's almost ever so slight joke once in a while. But let me read the question first so you know what I'm talking about. It's a good question. Namaste Shri Acharyaji, why is Lakshmi frequently depicted, in fact, not frequently, always depicted when facing the altar as being to the left of Venkateshwara, Vishnu, Narayana, rather than on the right? And that is indeed the case, not frequently. This is the case with Radha Krishna. This is the case with Lakshmi Narayana. Indeed, when you have Shakti-Shaktiman, it is the case that, yes, when you're facing the altar, or how they are facing us, in other words. So if you can imagine that this is Narayana, this is Lakshmi. Narayana will be on the right, Lakshmi is on the left. Always, always, always. There is no exception. If there is an exception, then someone misplaced them and didn't know what they were doing. The reason why this is the case, and I can go into this extremely deeply, but I won't. I'll just give a little brief explanation for why this is the case. This is the case for energetic reasons. This is the case for symbolic reasons. It is the idea that indeed you have the Shakti-Shaktiman. That being the case, the left side of the male is considered to be representative of the Shakti element, whereas the right side is the Shaktiman. That being the case, the Shakti, the consort, always is to the left. It matches with the male figure having his left side being the Shakti element. That is why. It's for energetic reasons. If you were to switch them, it wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't work well. So that's the reason why it's the case. So indeed, for that matter, this is an interesting also element of etiquette even that people have lost sight of. Again, it's so amazing what a true science this is. Not only with images of divine beings is this the case. So again, with Lakshmi Narayana, with Sita Rama, again, same thing. You have Rama on the right, Sita Devi will be on the left. This is also the case with kings and queens. If you have a royal couple who know what they're doing, they'll have their thrones, and it will always be the case that as they are facing the audience, the king will be on the right, the queen will be on the left. For that matter, this is also the case even with human couples, that whenever possible, for energetic reasons, so that there will be auspiciousness in the marriage, if there is ever a situation where, let's say, at a dinner table, anything, and you have the man and the woman who have to sit next to each other, who have to stand next to each other, anything like that, it should always be the case that the man is on the right, the woman is on the left. That should always be the case. Indeed, with my wife, we always make sure that if we're anywhere in public, if we're standing, if we're sitting, anything like that, and it was very busy, we weren't paying attention, and it happens to be that, it's reversed. She's on the right, I'm on the left. I have to think about that for a second. Well, inevitably, it might take a few seconds, but we'll kind of look at each other and quickly switch. We'll quickly switch, and it's almost like a running joke. So indeed, this is the case from God and Goddess, from Sriman Narayana all the way down to humans. It creates auspiciousness. So I hope that answers the question. Very good. Let me see. Very nice. Good. Here's another good question. And this, I believe, will be the last question that I'll take, because I said I would take questions for about 10 minutes. If someone here has a question, I'll make an exception. Please feel free. But this is another nice question. Dandavata Maharaja, I offer my pranama at your divine lotus feet. Namaste. Thank you so much for saying that. Acharyaji, is it necessary to undergo Pancha Sanskara for Sri Vaishnava, for Sri Sampradaya initiation? All of the sanskaras, including the Pancha Sanskara, ultimately are necessary in a purely well-functioning Vedic society and Vedic household. Now, let me talk about this for a moment. When it comes to all the sanskaras, including, yes, what you properly call the Pancha Sanskaras, the 5 sanskaras, in an ideal Vedic society, they are all meant to be followed. In fact, let me back up for a second. Let me explain what I mean by an ideal Vedic society, because that will help to explain what I'm saying here. We have, on the one hand, ideal Vedic society. What is meant by that? Well, 2 things, temporally. That means pure Vedic societies that we found in the past, 1,000 years ago even, 500 years ago even, because there were pure Vedic societies even 500 years ago. What to speak of a previous yuga, what to speak of 5,000 years ago. But then also into the future, we are going to have purely functioning ideal Vedic societies again. We do not have them right now. We have little communities here and there, but we're talking about a society. We're talking about a government, a nation, etc. We will have these into the future as well. So as far as an ideal Vedic society, all the rules and regulations found in the Pancharatra literature, and for that matter, even the Veda Samhitas, all of the rules and regulations, that is, doing yagyas, for example, to one's ancestors, to the gods, to the guru, etc., etc., all of these should be done. Should it be the case that, again, in an ideal Vedic society, every Vaishnava, man, woman, child, should be always wearing tilaka? Yes. Should people always be dressed in a traditional manner? And that means either Vedically or, as I've said before, even if it means truly traditional in accordance with one's ethnic culture. Yes, that should be the case, and that will be the case again in the future. So this is an ideal Vedic society. Now, what are we dealing with in 2025? We're dealing with, you cannot say, not an ideal Vedic society. That's not what we have now. It's not that it's not an ideal Vedic society. It is an ideal Vedic society in the making. That's what we have today. It's not that Vedic society is not here. It actually is. It exists in the hearts of Vaishnavas. It exists in the hearts of devotees. But it's not yet manifest. That's all. This being the case, this is why in the modern world, I personally have told my students that when it comes to ritual items, when it comes to ritual events, when it comes to especially the external accoutrements of what it means to be an ideal Vedic person, is it all right to be ever so slightly lax with such things in accordance with our job, the time that we have, etc., etc.? Yes, for right now, that's all right. This is why, for example, all of the devotees of the ISDS, when they're going about their normal day-to-day business, they have a job, they're dealing with family members who are not Vedic, etc., etc. They dress normally, quote unquote. They dress in Western clothing. They don't wear tilak, you're working at Best Buy. You're not going to work at Best Buy wearing tilak and a shaved head. You can certainly, if a person wanted to do such a thing, that's laudable. But we are also trying to be practical today. So I hope this answers the question. For right now, at this exact second, if you can do Pancha Sanskara, beautiful. If you cannot, it's understandable, but in the future, these will be the ideal standards. Even within the ISDS, and I've told many of our students this. Again, I don't know if there are any students of mine who don't know this. They all should at this point. We have the standards that we have, especially those of us in the Western world in 2025. The goal, however, in time, as the ISDS grows to be, and it will, a movement with millions of members, at that point, the goal will be to uphold every standard strictly. What do we uphold now? All philosophical, moral, and sadhana standards. That is, the things of importance. Ritual, a little bit less. Again, outer accoutrements, how we dress, tilak, etc., a little bit less. But in time, even those will rise to the occasion and will be followed ideally. Because why? Historically, where are we? We're not in a non-Vedic time. No, we're at a time in which the Vedic ideal is in seed form to be restored. Very good. I hope that answers that question. Give me just one moment to look at this. Very nice. This is not a question per se, but very nice comment. So maybe I'll just read this and then we'll end there at that point. And the comment is, thank you so much, Sri Acharya-ji, for this wonderful lecture. It also answered my question from last week beautifully, more into depth. It is a great blessing to be being able to learn from you. Jaya Shri Guru. Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful comment. I truly appreciate it, and a wonderful way to end today's session. And it is absolutely my pleasure to be able to bring Vedic truth to any who is sincere enough to truly appreciate it. And given your comment, you absolutely, and I know who you are, so I've always known this about you. Anyway, it is the case that you are definitely one of those people. And here's one last comment, commenting on the last question that I just answered. Jaya Shri Guru, thank you so much for your kind answer. My pleasure. glad that it was helpful. So with that, indeed, let us end here. Let me just end by saying what I usually say, these very important announcements. First of all, I don't believe I see it. If it's not here, if someone can please put up the link to our Discord server, that would be wonderful. And that's the first thing I want to just quickly mention, is that indeed, for people who don't know what a Discord server is, let me tell you, I didn't know 5 years ago. I knew nothing about Discord whatsoever, but essentially we have a discussion forum where it's mostly chat, but we also have live discussions where it's verbal. You can actually hear things, etc., hear people speaking. And we have basically a forum of hundreds of devotees of the International Sanatana Dharma Society who are on there to discuss Sanatana Dharma in a much deeper sort of way. So if this is either your first time here with us for this live stream, or if you've been coming repeatedly, but you haven't done this yet, please join our Discord server. And as we always explain to people, it's not just a chit-chat forum. It's not just some place. It's not Reddit. It's not some place to just exchange ideas. That's actually not what it exists for at all. Rather, it is a forum in which many, not all, but many of our senior devotees are on there to help people. If you have deeper questions, even beginning questions, they can be the simplest thing. What is karma? How exactly does it work? It can be the simplest question. Please go on there, and there will be senior devotees who will rush to help you in any way that they can, to answer your questions, to give you encouragement, to explain how sadhana is performed, actual spiritual practice. And let me tell you, I a long time ago lost track of how many people on there ended up becoming good friends with other people. It's like all of our serious devotees on there are friends with each other, hundreds of people. So it's absolutely wonderful. So join our Discord forum if you sincerely want to learn more about Sanatana Dharma. The other thing is, please go to our website, dharmacentral.com. And it's our primary website. We have all of our books available there, including this book that I keep mentioning that goes along with this series that we're doing right now, the Shakti Principle. If you go to dharmacentral.com, you can purchase this book on there. But also, if you would like to give a donation, that's something that is always very needed and welcomed. We have a non-profit religious movement, the International Sanatana Dharma Society. If you would like to help us by giving a one-time donation, and it can be anything from $5 to $5 million, and anything in between. It can be $10, it can be $100, it can be $500. Please help us in any way that you can. If you would like to become, once and for all, a monthly tithing member, an official recognized member of our movement, the International Sanatana Dharma Society, again, you can do so by going to dharmacentral.com, picking an amount that you'd like to donate monthly, and in that way you can become a member of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. So with that, again, we will end here. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to our wonderful congregation. Thank you for our global, worldwide congregation. We have a congregation, we have serious members in approximately 70 nations throughout the world. I thank you all for being here. Join us next week as we continue looking at Devi Bhagavata Purana, and we will begin speaking about the nature of Sri Lakshmi Devi. Sri Saraswati Devi. And with that, again, I thank you all for being here. Namaste. And everyone together, so that the gods and goddesses, so that God himself can hear us. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society, Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society, Jayate.
Victory to Sanatana Dharma. Evam Bhavatu. May it be so. And so it shall be. And that it shall be is inevitable. And with that, everyone, I leave you all with these words, these divine words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, wherein he says, Ma Shuchaha, do not fear. Do not fear. Do not fear. And everyone, take very good care of yourselves in every way.